This 22-year-old lady walked into a bankruptcy attorney's office with $91,300 worth of debt and the confidence of someone who thinks they just discovered a financial life hack.
I am 22 years old and I am in $91,300 worth of debt, and I am filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy today. I've had such a bad financial burden the last couple years, so after meeting with an attorney and doing lots of research, I realized that filing bankruptcy really isn't as bad as it's made out to be.
Are you serious right now, bro?
And honestly, watching her explain how she got here is equal parts educational and absolutely wild.
Truthfully, my consumer debt really is not that bad. A lot of people have it a lot worse financially, but for me, $91,000 was just too much. It was uncomfortable and I just wanted to get a fresh start.
This is the story of how someone moved to Texas right after high school and speedran every bad financial decision possible in 4 years, why she's currently living in a camper while making payments on a truck worth more than most people's annual salary, and the moment she realized that maybe buying a motorcycle in 2022 wasn't the genius move she thought it was.
I may not have a brain, gentlemen, but I have an idea.
Let me break down exactly how you accumulate nearly $100,000 in debt before your brain even finishes developing, because this timeline is honestly impressive in the worst possible way. So here's the debt breakdown, and buckle up, because each line item is its own little adventure.
Get ready, get ready, get ready.
$51,000 on a vehicle. Not just any vehicle, but one with so much negative equity that selling it or trading it in would somehow leave her owing even more money, which is genuinely impressive, because that means she either got absolutely demolished on the financing or drove it like she was training for NASCAR. Then there's the motorcycle. Bought in 2022 for reasons that seemed completely logical at the time, still owes $5,000 on it, can't sell it for what she owes, and you can practically hear the regret through the screen when she mentions it.
I bought a motorcycle back in 2022. Thought that was a great idea. I owe $5,000 still on that. Same thing. Tried selling it, not able to get what we owe out of it.
That's crazy.
That's the energy of someone who remembers exactly how cool they felt test riding that bike and how quickly that feeling evaporated when the first payment hit. The camper situation is where it gets really interesting. She owes $13,400 on a camper, which under normal circumstances would be concerning, but here's the plot twist. She lives in the camper because she can't afford a house. So she's paying for mobile housing while also paying for that $51,000 truck, which means she prioritized having a fancy vehicle over having an actual stationary home with walls and plumbing.
You idiot. You're honestly an idiot.
There's $22 in medical bills that somehow ended up in collections without her even knowing. $22, not $2,200 or $22,000, just $22, which suggests the billing company spent more money sending collection notices than the actual debt was worth.
What?
But it still counts against her credit because life has a sense of humor.
You know, it's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy.
Student loans clock in at $12,000, which means she did some college, probably didn't finish, or got a degree that isn't exactly paying dividends. And now these loans are the gift that keeps on giving because, spoiler alert, bankruptcy doesn't touch student loans. Those babies are permanent. Credit card debt adds another $7,700 to the pile. Because when you're already drowning, why not add a little more water? And all of this together creates the magical number of $91,300, which she casually mentions isn't even that bad, because other people have it worse, which is technically true, but also the financial equivalent of saying your house fire isn't that bad because other people's houses burned down. The backstory
I want to make history.
Moved to Texas
And that's what this
directly
is.
after high school and made what she describes as very irresponsible financial decisions, which is the understatement of the year. It's like saying the Titanic had a minor leak, technically accurate, but missing the full picture. And look, she's owning it. She admits she dug herself into a big hole. She's not blaming anyone else. She's not claiming victim status. She's just like, yeah, I messed up spectacularly and now I'm dealing with it. Which honestly is refreshing in an era where everyone wants to blame their problems on the economy or their zodiac sign or Mercury being in retrograde.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Her solution after years of stress and sleepless nights. Chapter 7 Bankruptcy, which she describes as not as bad as it's made out to be after doing lots of research and meeting with an attorney. And you can tell she's trying to convince herself as much as anyone watching that this is actually a smart financial move.
Yes, I did that. And you would do it too for a check.
The attorney gave her a discount, which sounds great until you realize she got the discount because she was referred by someone else who's also currently filing bankruptcy.
Okay, Mort, now if you want to get more customers in your pharmacy, you're going to have to do a promotion, like buy one, get one free.
So her friend circle includes other people in financial crisis mode, which is either really supportive or really concerning, depending on how you look at it. The bankruptcy costs $1,100. So she has to pay over $1,000 for the privilege of legally declaring she can't pay her debts, which is the kind of irony that feels designed by the universe specifically to make financial advisors weep. It's like paying a gym membership to get in shape for the marathon you're not going to run. She got a bankruptcy workbook. An actual workbook with forms and questions and probably some really depressing chapters about listing your assets and creditors. It's like a high school homework assignment, except instead of getting a grade, you get your credit score nuked for a decade. The strategic part is kind of genius, though. You can pick and choose what to include in bankruptcy, so she's surrendering the truck that's drowning her in negative equity. Goodbye $51,000 truck that probably had heated seats and a backup camera. Surrendering the motorcycle that represents poor judgment in physical form. But keeping the camper because she literally lives in it, which makes sense because homelessness isn't really a viable alternative. The student loans stay too. Not by choice, but by law, because the government decided student loans are forever like diamonds or herpes. Can't discharge them in bankruptcy, can't escape them by fleeing the country. They're just part of your life now.
Hey, I'm not going anywhere.
Everything else gets wiped clean. The credit cards, the medical bills, all the little debts that accumulated like digital barnacles, gone, vanished, erased from existence, except for the part where they tank her credit score for the next 10 years. She films herself walking into the attorney's office, documenting this moment for posterity or content, or maybe just to process the surreal nature of filing bankruptcy at 22. And there's something both brave and slightly concerning about turning your financial collapse into social media content. The attorney meeting is surprisingly mundane. What's your middle name? And, with an E or without, basic administrative questions while processing life-altering paperwork. Do you own a business? No, obviously not, because if she owned a successful business, she probably wouldn't be here. There's a 2012 Volkswagen Passat involved, fully paid off, the one vehicle she actually owns outright, and you can't help but wonder why she didn't just stick with the Passat instead of upgrading to a $51,000 truck. But hindsight is 20/20, and apparently foresight was on vacation. After signing the paperwork, she explains the next steps. There's a 314 meeting scheduled for mid-December, which is basically a Zoom call with all her creditors where they can theoretically object to the bankruptcy. But the attorney assures her that 99% of the time, none of them show up. So it's like being summoned to court and having everyone ghost you, which sounds stressful but is actually good news in bankruptcy land.
What the hell is going on here? Your mom just got served. Served? I haven't even ordered yet. Order! Cheeseburger, please.
She's hopeful. Fingers crossed none of them show up, and if they don't, then everything goes through, the debt disappears, the weight lifts, and she walks into 2026 with a clean slate, except for the student loans, which are still there like an unwanted house guest who refuses to leave. The emotional weight is real. She's tired of carrying this financial burden, tired of stress, tired of bad decisions following her around like a persistent ex, and at 22 she's ready for a fresh start, which is totally valid even if the path to get here was paved with questionable purchases. She frames it as a learning curve, says she'll never put herself in this position again, calls it a good life lesson, and honestly that's probably true. Nothing teaches financial literacy quite like filing bankruptcy before your frontal lobe finishes developing. The message to viewers is surprisingly thoughtful. If you're struggling financially and can't handle the debt, go meet with an attorney, discuss bankruptcy. It's not as bad as it's made out to be, which is both helpful advice and slightly concerning because bankruptcy absolutely has consequences. But she's speaking from relief, not regret. Here's what makes this whole situation fascinating. She's not a cautionary tale in the traditional sense. She's not a villain or a victim. She's just a young person who made mistakes, owned them, and found a legal way out, the American dream adjacent experience. The real lesson isn't about bankruptcy being good or bad. It's about how easy it is to accumulate massive debt when you're young and nobody taught you financial literacy. When social media makes every purchase look essential. When financing is available for literally everything. When YOLO culture meets buy now, pay later technology. She moved to Texas at 18. Fresh out of high school, probably excited about independence and adult life and freedom, and within 4 years she'd racked up enough debt to bankrupt most families, not through malice or stupidity but through a series of decisions that seemed fine in the moment. The truck seemed reasonable. Everyone in Texas drives trucks. Financing was approved, monthly payments looked manageable on paper. Nobody explained that the moment you drive off the lot you're underwater. Nobody mentioned that repair costs on a $51,000 vehicle are proportionally expensive. The motorcycle seemed fun. It was 2022. Maybe gas prices were crazy. Maybe 2 wheels sounded cheaper than 4. Maybe she just wanted to feel cool. And honestly, who hasn't made a purchase based entirely on vibes? The difference is most of us don't finance those vibes for 5 years.
We are same, but different. But still same.
The camper made sense at the time. Housing is expensive, rent is ridiculous, owning seemed impossible, so why not buy a mobile home, be flexible, live the van life except with slightly more square footage? It's only in retrospect that living in a camper while making payments on a luxury truck seems backwards. The credit cards were probably gradual. A charge here, a charge there, interest accumulating quietly in the background, minimum payments that felt manageable until suddenly they weren't, the frog boiling slowly in water until it realizes it's soup. The student loans represent something bigger. The promise that education equals success, that debt is an investment, that future earnings will make it all worthwhile, except sometimes that future doesn't materialize and you're just left with the debt and a half-finished degree. And now, at 22, she's hitting reset, surrendering the vehicles, keeping the camper, wiping the slate clean except for the stuff that legally can't be wiped, and preparing to rebuild her financial life from scratch with hopefully better decision-making skills. The credit score hit is no joke. Chapter 7 bankruptcy stays on your record for 10 years. It affects your ability to get loans, rent apartments, sometimes even get jobs. Credit cards will have terrible terms. Interest rates will be punishing, but at least the $91,300 in debt is gone. The psychological relief is probably worth it. Living under that kind of financial stress at 22 is soul-crushing. Every bill is anxiety. Every purchase is guilt. Every month is juggling which debt gets the minimum payment. Bankruptcy removes that weight, even if it adds different complications. What's remarkable is the transparency. Filming herself filing bankruptcy, sharing the details, breaking down the numbers, being vulnerable about mistakes. That takes courage. Whether it's for content or catharsis or both, it's more honest than most financial influencers who only show the highlight reel. The comments section is probably split. Half judgment, half empathy, some people saying she's irresponsible and doesn't deserve relief. Others sharing their own debt stories, a few offering genuine advice, maybe some MLM people trying to recruit her into their downline because that's how the internet works. But here's the thing. This story isn't unique. Thousands of young people are in similar situations, crushed by debt they accumulated trying to build a life, caught between the expectation to look successful and the reality of entry-level wages, drowning in financing agreements they signed before understanding compound interest. The system is kind of designed for this. Credit is absurdly easy to get. Financing is available for everything. Minimum payments are low enough to seem manageable. Nobody explains the real cost until you're already trapped. And bankruptcy exists as a pressure valve for when it all becomes too much. She's lucky in some ways. She's young enough to rebuild. The bankruptcy will fall off her record by her early 30s. She has no kids or major obligations complicating the situation. And she clearly has some level of income since she's making these payments even while living in a camper. The question is what happens next. Does she actually learn from this? Does she build better financial habits? Does she resist the urge to finance her way back into debt the moment her credit starts recovering? Or does she end up back in the same cycle in 5 years? Only time will tell. But the fact that she's self-aware enough to call her decisions irresponsible, honest enough to share the experience, and hopeful enough to believe in a fresh start suggests she's got a shot at actually turning things around. And maybe that's the real message here. Financial mistakes at 22 don't have to define your entire life. Bankruptcy isn't the end of the world, and sometimes the best thing you can do is admit defeat, reset, and try again with the wisdom that only comes from spectacular failure.